Okay, so I prepared this board with 3 shapes, and I want to create gradations, blends, so I prepared this lighter color, kind of like the first light for a portrait. We're going to see if we can't make this blend from this color to the green. I've got this very sharp, here, look at this brush. It can take a lot of paint, but it's got a very, very sharp, and we're just going to try to use the tip and it's kind of like cross hatching, where you make these little lines. They keep getting closer and closer together until it's solid. So we'll really fill it on one side so it's solid. Then we'll try to gradate it out so that then what we'll do is we'll start putting a drop of the proplasma color into this and keep moving it from left to right. So now I've got some of the proplasma color, and we're going to put that together with the highlight color. Make a darker color that will be closer, somewhere in between those two colors. I'm just going to keep mixing more and more green into it, a little bit at a time, and then I'll be able to get this color to go all the way to the solid green. And again, if you use just the tip of the brush, you can control it so that you don't put as much down. Now I'm using the solid green proplasma color, working back towards the warm color. So it goes from a light warm to a darker cool. And that's the way that all the gradations on the faces are done in the icon. See how nice and smooth that gradation is now? If you can do that, your icons will become a lot more professional looking. Okay. Let's try to do that with this circle now. I'm going to wash my brush out. I'm going to start in the middle here, put a highlight on here, and then I'm going to continue to go around and around with a drier amount of it. It's might want to wipe off your brush so that it's more controllable, so it's not so wet. And you can go in all directions. You don't have to just go in circles. And we'll build this up slowly so that it's heavier in the middle, and as it goes towards the outside, it gets lighter, or it gets more transparent to allow the green to show through. So that's a pretty wet, almost transparent color. Like I say, when it comes to iconography, you're not really painting until you got one layer over another. But we're going to get this so that it gradates and it gets darker as it goes towards the edge of this circle. Putting this slight amount down, we're just using the tip of the brush so that I make smaller and smaller brush strokes as it goes out towards the edge. And you can go in more than one direction. You just have to keep working it so that you're blending one color into the next. Now I'm going to make the center lighter by using a more opaque version of the light color, same way as it is right here, almost solid. And it's okay to let these layers dry. That's where you really get the best blends, is when you work it, let it dry, come back, put more on there. Okay, all right. So then I'm taking a little bit more color and putting it on there again. And it's just a small change, but you just keep, with persistence, putting more and more of this lighter color into the center here, and then blending it out with the tip of your brush. I took all the paint off my brush, so now I'm pushing it around with a drier brush. If you want to control it, you dip your brush in the paint and then wipe the brush off a little bit, which seems counterintuitive, but gives you more control if you don't have a ton of wet paint on your brush. When you have a semi-dry brush, then it just goes on a little bit at a time. Okay, so that's a little bit lighter in the middle, as you can see. And we'll try that again. We'll dip again. And then we'll clean off our brush a little bit and continue to build that up so that it's heavier in the middle. I'm going to go back to this one, build this up just a little bit more so that it really is that highlight color at one end. You can see that when it's dry, that it changes the color even more. Wet on wet, it's always going to bleed into the color that's underneath it. That's a pretty nice gradation, though. You can see that I'm using the very tip of my brush to blend it out as it goes from left to right. So it's got this warm light color over here, and it's got the cool darker color over there, and there's really no place that you can say one ends and the other begins. It's a nice blend. Again, I'll put another coat of the lighter color in the middle here. might help to put a blow dryer on this so that we can work a little bit more quickly. I have a fan that's about a 14-inch fan. I'm going to get that a little bit closer so that it can help dry the color. Sometimes I use my finger a little bit to blend. Okay, there you go. Okay. And I can come back the other way with the darker green color and come back the other way, but let's just keep getting it lighter in the center. Okay. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'll wash off my brush and then I'll get the green color, come back the other way. To try and minimize any brush strokes I'm seeing as it goes towards the edge. There you go. Trying to dry it a little bit, and then I'll come back and I'll put the brightest part of the highlight on after it's a little drier, and that'll be the way we make gradations. Okay, that looks pretty dry. Okay. Okay. And you can take your time and just go real slowly. And it just keeps getting less of one color and more of the other as you move from the middle to the outside. I'll bring some of the green in again. And go the opposite way. That looks pretty good. So we've got a gradation that goes from a light center to a dark edge. We'll go one last time on the rectangle here with the very lightest highlight. And with the very tip of the brush, which is even lighter than what's there on a dry surface. And help make that gradation a little bit more obvious where it really goes light at one end. Okay, I think that shows how we gradate.